among some of the questions that have been posed to me in different meetings, whether they were public or private in this country, are concerning those relating to miracles. Many have heard, and some from here have seen things being materialized. They won't call it materialized, brought in by miracles. Watches, fountain pens, ash, flowers, fruits, and so many other things. And I was asked whether it is true, because there is a school of opinion that these are all magic, sleight of hand, legerdemain. That the persons who do this must be very clever, and they may be having things where things are concealed, and they are so clever that before people are able to catch, they bring out things. And in India, some busybodies under the auspices of a university appointed a committee for ostensibly for a dispassionate examination of the so-called phenomena of miracles, but really to expose what they call the doings of God-men. And they were helped in their work by a few instances where things were actually being done by magic, not by magic, but by tricks. There was a small boy who, say about 4 or 5, perhaps less, he was supposed to have this power of preparing and giving ashes. Now ashes, you might wonder here in this country, why so much importance to ashes? Now in India, ash has a certain importance. God Shiva, the preserver, the destroyer and the creator, he is supposed to dove his body with ashes, white, smearing his body with white ash. So devout people, they prepare ash, consecrated, and apply it either on their forehead or somewhere on their bodies without understanding what it is all about. Certainly it doesn't look very elegant, doesn't look very aesthetic, but still they apply. Actually the symbol is, after all things, all these material things, they are consumed by the fire of knowledge. What remains is the ash, and that is put on to remind ourselves, to remind everybody that that is what remains ultimately. A remnant of apparent things, transitory things, consumed by fire of knowledge is ash. So that's the point of view. Now, it was discovered that a small boy, he was giving ash. And they said he is something greater, possibly, than older people giving ash, though he claimed to have received the grace of that person. And then this committee surreptitiously gained entrance into that child's home. One lady member of the committee, she got entrance into that household as a devotee of the child. God went endeared herself by presents, fruits, flowers to the household members. She became a trusted person. And then, one day, she took the child in her lap. But they said, no, 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 it's not to be done. Like he said, doesn't matter, I am his devotee. And when the mother of the child had been out somewhere, she examined the clothes of the child and found that there was a plastic tube from here. And here there was a pouch in which ash had been kept. And there was a tube connecting it. And the child was told to press the thing and ash would come here. So that was given a lot of publicity. And they said similar things must be here with Sai Baba. And they issued a challenge saying that we would like to examine you. You must either tell us how you do it or allow us to examine the circumstances in which you produce. Now, naturally, he didn't take notice of these things. These people said the fact that he doesn't reply shows that there is some guilt, something to hide. But many of us, whether we approve or not of this performance of these miracles, we felt he was right. After all, who are these physical scientists to call upon people dealing in different domains of being, of consciousness, to submit themselves to their examination? There is a confusion of categories, what is called in logic, confusion of categories. Physical parameter, physical standards apply for physical phenomena. Now, a psychological phenomenon or a subtle physical phenomenon, how do you expect that to submit itself to your barometers or machines of examination of the physical type? Certainly, you cannot. If I am asked to prove, when I say I love you, if I am asked to prove how do I love you? Well, only a person who knows how to love, who knows the impact of love, can really say whether I love or not. Similarly, only a mystic can examine a mystic. Only a mystic can know how far the other mystic is advanced, what kind of consciousness he breathes, and measure him. Though I may tell you, no mystic measures another mystic. I remember once 2 American authors, young people. It is only, I suppose, in America that young people become authors very soon. And they stayed in Sai Baba's ashram. He said, he is the man, he is the avatar, he is the incarnation, he is the coming world leader. And wrote a book. It was in the press in Calcutta. And then God knows what happened. They themselves told me. And they said suddenly they discovered that they were all wrong. That it was, everything was wrong. So they sent a telegram and cancelled the book, which was nearing its completion. And before they came back to the States, they touched Pondicherry. And they asked whether they could see Mother. And I was in a position to arrange for these things. I arranged. Now, they asked Mother, what do you think of Sai Baba? Mother told them, one guru does not pronounce on another. They were very much taken back. And they came and expressed to me their admiration for this approach. And another American professor came, he went to Sai Baba, and when I arranged for him to go to Mother, he produced from his pocket a stone. And he said, Mother, this stone was given to me by Sai Baba. Is it true? Mother took it, held it in her hand, and concentrated for a few seconds. And then she said, it is a materialized stone. Now that should set all doubts at rest, that these are not magic, these are not tricks. It is possible to do these things, simulate these phenomena by magic. But what some saints, yogis do, it is not by magic. They do not need to do these things by magic. Their consciousness is different. When they do things, for the state of consciousness in which they live, each state of consciousness has its corresponding power. That power is not an unnatural or a miraculous power at that level. Sri Aurobindo said that it is misnomer to call these things miracles. There are no miracles. We don't understand certain phenomena. We don't have the eye to probe into certain roots of certain things, processes, and we call them miracles. There are no miracles because at that level of consciousness, certain things are natural. One is not aware that one is doing something unnatural. We just do it. It is like a small child admiring its father driving a car or driving a plane. He can't do it. For him it is a miracle. A plane, a car going and all that, it is a miracle. Till he learns the process, he is dazzled. Now, there are many other yogis in India who don't agree, who don't see eye to eye with such people. And one of them, an ordinary man, a householder, perhaps he is a teacher somewhere, teaching these asanas and things. So he said, what's wonderful about it? I too shall perform certain miracles. And what miracle? He said, I will walk on water. This happened about 3 or 4 years ago in Bombay. I will go and walk on water. So some newshounds felt interested. They clustered around him and they said, but can you really do it? He said, yes. And in a small circle of friends, in a swimming pool, he walked on water, a small number, and they were convinced. So a lot of ballyhoo and publicity on the radio, newspapers, special supplements are brought out, and special tickets are collected, and lot of propaganda was made, and I believe about 30 to 40,000 people assembled. And that time, the saints themselves do not bother. It is the disciples of the saints who create all controversies. Now, the disciples of Sai Baba, they said this fellow should not succeed and cannot succeed. Then he said, wait. So on the appointed day, we were all waiting. All people separated from thousands of miles, news on the radio, news on the papers and all that. And precisely at 4 o'clock, all people were waiting, and this man came out of his tent and put his first foot in water, second foot, and he fell down in water. And there was consternation. There was jubilation in one camp, consternation in another, that he just fell. And people asked, how is it? Then he explained that he had overnight he had developed a cold. Now, due to cold, his breathing process had got affected. And this impairment of the capacity for directing the breathing in the body, bringing about certain changes in the weight and all that, plus the excitement, tremendous excitement around, of people, of expectations, apprehensions, all these, created an unnatural situation. And the man feels it. But he knows to do it. Similarly, when Sri Aurobindo was in jail, before he came to Pondicherry, he was practicing the yoga of the Gita. And in these jails, there are no walls, there are only bars. So one day, somebody saw him. He was meditating, but he was about half a foot above the ground. So they said, it's something intriguing. So afterwards they told him, how is it that you are sitting in the air? But he said, I don't know. He was not aware. Now this phenomenon also, what is called levitation, that it is a fact. It is not a trick. I believe recently the propagator of TM, Mahesh Yogi, he published some pictures, of some laughing boys and girls in the air. And huge posters were then that it is one step further than TM and he is willing to teach. And then some Canadian doctor or scientist challenged him that it can't be done, let him prove it in the open. So one of the very senior people from India, he wrote to me, this is the thing, and do you really believe in the claim of this man? I said, it is more than what I can say, whether he has done it or not. But it is a fact, levitation is a fact. It is possible by doing certain yogic procedures to overcome the force of gravity of earth. And naturally, when you overcome the gravity, you rise up. You may not be that high, but you do rise up. And this has been observed, seen in lives of many saints. Similarly, instances are so often known in India. A person is there in one city, he lives. But people have also seen him at the same time in a place 1,000 miles away. That is, if I am here at this time, 10 o'clock, somebody also sees me walking in the streets of New York. How do you explain that? Is it imagination, hallucination? No, because the persons tell you what happened in New York, whom they met, everything. And here also he is there. These are also true. Now I am giving you an idea of different types of phenomena which are old, authentic, but which have no spiritual value. They are dazzling phenomena. Things happen in their course, but they have no spiritual significance. They only show that man is only on the threshold of so many powers and faculties. What he is a tiny babe still. The area of consciousness in which he floats and works is very, very limited. Sri Aurobindo said once that man is aware of only 1/10 of his being. It is like a tip of an iceberg. 9/10 of the being is behind. And the future ages are going to see man developing his consciousness, his awareness, and bringing into action the various potentialities that are latent still in him. And many of the things which we consider to be miracles today will be common things tomorrow. And whether you like the word yoga or not, I personally prefer the word for this discipline, culture of consciousness. A culturing of consciousness. We have known what is aesthetic culture, we have known what is physical culture, we have known what is mental culture. So man today is on the doorsteps of a universalized spiritual culture. There have been instances of saints and geniuses and mystics right from the beginning, but they are all solitary, rare cases, as if to keep always before man the promise, give him a glimpse of his potentialities. Always, one scientist working in a laboratory is doing certain discoveries, inventions. He is a standing example and an inspiration for others that here it is possible to do it. Similarly, they are spiritual scientists. And what they aim is unity, union with the reality. Union with, you may call it God, call it reality, call it consciousness of the self. Now, man's union, it is axiomatic that this reality, divinity, is there on every level of being, existence. And the aim of spiritual practice is to gain unity with this true source of our life, so that we may convert our fragmented life into a whole life, a total life. Some mystics, some yogis say that you can have union with the divine, complete union with the divine. You no more exist. Once the consciousness develops, arrives at an identity with the Supreme Consciousness, you just merge, like the drop of water merging in the ocean. Thereafter, they say, you can't find that drop. That is union and merger. There are others who say that it is not possible. It is not possible for a human soul representing the concentration of consciousness to completely merge and disappear in the divine. It is a blasphemy. They say you can enjoy the same status. You can arrive at the same status, live in the same plane, same world as the highest, but you can't become one. And you have a relation. There are still others who say you may go, you can't put on the nature of God, but you can live near God, in proximity to God. So there are different types of realization. Becoming one with the divine, having co-status with the divine, but another is always separate from the divine, but near the divine. There are three. Each approach has its own philosophy, has its own system, and champions of one and champions of another are constantly at war, debates with each other. much to the amusement of those who have spiritual experience. For those who have genuine spiritual experience, these are academic discussions, because it is possible for a seeker of an integral, open mind to feel in the core of his being a complete identity with God, an identity of consciousness with the divine in the core of the being. That is possible. But once you come further, the soul feels a projection of God, but a projection, an individual projection. An individual having relations with the divine, adoring it, expressing it, worshipping it. That is possible, having a certain status of relation with God. Outermost on the surface, where I identify myself totally with my nature, nature is different and God is different. Nature reveals itself to be a servant of God, a power of God, but always different, duality. So, in spiritual matters, there can't be rigidities. Rigidities belong to the domain of mind, logical mind. There everything melts into each other on a level of consciousness which is behind the logical mind or above. Things constantly melt into each other. There is one consciousness, one total identity, but grades of experience, types of identity. Now, this principle in all these approaches, however, is one, and that is change of consciousness, raising of consciousness from the existing day-to-day working level to raise it higher and higher. And this is done on the level of the body, on the level of mind, on the level of the heart. Each one has a different discipline. Now, the commonest and the first discipline concerns the body, the physical body, realizing the utmost potential of the physical body, realizing the divinity of the body, experiencing the true relation of the soul with the body. Now, the soul has its own subtle causal body, and it functions free without any barriers. But in our physical body, the soul is subject to severe limitations in its function. The aim of this discipline, what is the discipline of the body, what is called Hatha Yoga, is to so change the body, to so intensify the body condition, that the soul can function in the physical body, material body, with as much facility as it does in its subtle body. Now, there is an intimate connection between this physical body and the soul that is embodied in it. But this body is important. Without this body, this soul cannot function in me. So body is given great importance. Body is the key. It is the bridge between the spiritual and the material physical being. This physical body exists, functions, because there is a certain relation established by nature between the life force that is constantly pumped into it and the physical body which holds that life energy, sustains it, and draws upon it for purposes of motor activity, movements. Nature establishes a certain balance. That balance willy-nilly serves for all on a rough way. For the purposes of our day-to-day existence, that balance serves. But if the body is asked to fulfill larger functions, greater functions than what it is used to, it will need to have a new balance, a different balance between itself and the life energies that pour into it. If, as the body is, you observe, if there is a little accumulation of life energy without being spent, the body shows its inability to hold it by a certain restlessness. There is an involuntary movement. Either he will walk, the limbs will move, he will hum something. In some way, the energies are expressed and spilt. The first aim of Hatha Yoga is to steady the body, to build a new relation between nature of life force and the nature of the physical body by training it to be immobile. By immobility, one gets a control over the body. Once you get control over the body by immobility, next step is you gain more power. That immobility yields a certain power. So these two gains of immobility, sitting in one position without moving, without feeling the need to move, it gives you a control over the body and endows the body with more power to endure, to assert itself, to answer any further demands made upon it by your mental will. I have anticipated. Now, whatever the yoga, whatever the discipline, there are three principles: purification, concentration, liberation. Purification of the apparatus with which we deal, the body or the mind or the emotions or whatever part of the being you choose to start with. Purification, there is much to be purified. No part of us functions at its normal capacities. There is always some interference, some clogging, some dulling. You have to purify. And then concentration. The whole faculties are concentrated on that object. And thereafter, you are liberated from the hold of lower nature, from the hold of outer nature, and assured independent existence. At whatever level, there is an energy of being. And now this energy of being is purified, concentrated, and it is released. Released from what? Released in this sense, the universal energy, whether material energy, vital energy, mental energy, each energy is individualized in each one of us. And in this individualization there are certain knots. Those knots limit the functioning of that individual energy to that individual frame. They hold it. By yogic discipline, you untie the knots. So the individual energy loses its limited character and it is released into its natural, universal dimensions. This is the main principle. Liberation is release from the limiting individuation. They are the knots. Those knots are subtle knots. It is only when these knots are removed that you can say the island ego joins its continent. And the Hatha Yoga is concerned with the vital currents in the physical body. The physical being of ours consists of two constituents, the physical body and the vital energy activating that body. But both as we are today, both our physical body and the life energy coursing through the body, they are our masters. We are not their masters. Our soul is not their master. They determine what we do, how far we can do. We are, and this physical body and the vital energy are subject to certain limitations. Normal limitations by the very fact that they are individualized, and abnormal limitations due to environmental circumstances, disease, crisis, tensions, sudden changes in the environment. All these create certain problems and put a lot of tension on the body and the vital energy. And this subjection to limitation on the part of the body and the vital energy is overcome by two methods in Hatha Yoga. The two methods are complex and cumbrous in their action, but simple in principle and effectuation. As I said, the asana, taking certain postures, trains the body to sit without moving. When, for instance, the normal lotus posture, when you put the one leg here and one leg there and sit in this condition, representing like a lotus, that position, posture, assures a free flow of life breath. And once you get accustomed to it, it so fits in that you don't need to move. The body swings into a natural balance. Now these postures, asana means simply seating, seat. Now a seat in the yogic parlance does not mean this seat, does not mean even sitting posture. Seat, asana, is a comfortable posture for the body. Whatever way it is, that position in which the body feels itself rested, doesn't feel the need to move uselessly, that is called asana. That is the general principle. But in practice, it has come to mean these special postures which one takes up when one sits to work upon one's body or vital energy. These postures, there are as many as 80 or 84 in number. It is a whole science. A few simple ones, they have been added, there have been permutations and combinations, and a whole science has been developed. Certain postures are intended to give exercises, to promote the flow of energy in those particular limbs of the body which are either deficient or overactive. So nobody's body normally is 100% fit. There is some defect here or there. Defect, either a natural defect in constitution or a defect in function. That defect in functioning may be due to faulty functioning or as a result of certain sickness, illness, accident. By regular practice of these postures under a certain expert guidance, it is possible to offset many of these imperfections. Many of the imperfections of the body are due to irregularities in the flow of breath, in the flow of life energy, in the flow and the blood circulation in those particular parts. There is a course of asanas, maybe 10 or 12, which one does normally to feel sound health, to assure that the health is sound. There is the lotus posture. There is a posture which is called the serpent pose, where you rest here, lie and raise this thing so that this whole thyroid gland and things are controlled and the muscles of the back are stretched, and immediately it is a regular scientific. You have the opposite kind of posture to regulate, to correct, to balance, and you have the posture in which you put the legs up this way, and thereafter again you put the head this way on the legs. The whole body becomes so supple, so plastic, that there can't be wind remaining in the body. There can't be inertia, tamas in the body. Where? Here? There are asanas where you lift your legs up and rest only on the shoulder blades without any other support. So the whole mechanism is changed and the blood flows. There are postures where you have only a head rest. You rest on the head and the whole system, the legs are turned upwards. It is supposed to be most beneficial to the brain because all the blood flows to the brain. And the last is one has to lie absolutely like a corpse. It is called a corpse. Now a corpse pose is not just to lie down. One has to relax, lie down flat on the flat ground, flat, and then start a conscious relaxation from the toe, step by step, loosen it, so that you become like a limp of wet cloth. And you stay there in a minute or two. When you make up all the energy, enter into tune with nature. Now these exercises are for purposes of assuring sound health. They don't have necessarily a spiritual value. There are more asanas depending upon your state of health which you do. And the aim of these is to train the body to receive and hold more and more vital energy without dissipating. The precarious balancing between vital energies and our physical body is done away with. You have a firm balance. There are a lot of impurities in our system, nerve channels. Blood doesn't flow. Now all these disorders are remedied by these asanas. The asanas ensure a free flow of life energy wherever it is lacking, proper flow of blood circulation. And they were primitive days, those days, mind you, when the modern means of cleansing the body were not available. So they devised certain systems, ways, which are still current. I don't understand why they should be still current though. That the accumulations and the impurities in the body are periodically removed, ejected from the body. The normal evacuations are not considered to be enough to ensure the physical purity in the system. So they adopt certain physical means. For instance, they would have a bowl of water. That water would be poured in these palms, and one takes in the water through the nose. Try it and you will get suffocated. But it is interesting. It should be a little warm, saline water. And when you take it in, inhale it, it comes, and either it is thrown out through the mouth. All what clogs the system here, that is brought out. Similarly, they would take a piece of cloth, long piece of cloth, introduce through the mouth, swallow and swallow and swallow, and it will go up to the intestines, and then it will be turned and slowly drawn out. And that is the cleansing of this inner system. Then the lower colon, that they would, at present we have what is called enema, they would take certain herbal tubes and draw in water for the lower portions. Now these means of postures and the aid of these cleansing methods, they ensured a pure, unimpeded operation of the body, giving it a certain stability, a power of stability, having a new balance with this get rid of disorder, restlessness, and when energy is thus held, received, it accumulates. The life energy accumulates, increasing the endurance of the body, increasing the capacity of the body to resist diseases, to resist decay. So apart from health, there is great longevity. We have seen people of 80, 90, pink cheeks, robust, walk straight, no stoop, and it is difficult to say what is their age. There have been people in India who have lived 150 years, 200 years, and they don't think it is something of a wonder. They just talk as if it was yesterday. But it is possible. They have not undergone any rejuvenating courses. But by sheer this Hatha Yoga, they have raised the physical perfection to that level, that the body is radiant. They don't take medicines. The body can be trusted to resist disease and decay. And in the beginning, however, when you start the asanas, as soon as the energy starts coming in, the body finds it difficult to adjust. So you will see in many novices, there are tremblings, there are tremors in the body. People, swing like this way and that way. They are not conscious. That is, the body is making an effort to adjust itself to the special inrush of the life and the vital energies. After some time, the tremor stops, the body holds, and life energy becomes a greater effective force. And what happens? Instead of the body containing the life force, the life energy contains the physical body. One is not even conscious at that time that one has a physical body. One feels full. One feels as if one has a subtle body of life energy. In one of his epic, Shriram describes it as the body looks like a shell moving in the vast spaces of the soul. That is the body, the physical body loses its limitation. There is less liability to fatigue. You don't get fatigued. Even if you work 16 hours a day, you don't get fatigued because there is a constant infusion of life energy. A new balance has been struck. Decay is arrested, and the variety of asanas alters the relation of the physical energies of the body to the earth energy. The body gets a freedom, the body gets a certain flexibility, so that the overcoming of fatigue is only the first result. Partial levitation is the last result. The body gets light, the body gets flexible, so that apart from there being no fatigue, the balance between the earth energy and the physical energy is changed. Gravitation loses its force. Very difficult for modern scientists to admit that there can be a possibility on earth where the earth gravity can't function. But it is a fact that the force of gravity is got over, and you have the phenomena of levitation. The gross body thus acquires the character of a subtle body with something of its relations with life energy. And we have these various powers, what are called siddhis. The body can be made as light as you like, so that it can float. It can walk on water. After all, you can remain on water provided you become lighter than water. It is possible. And there is also this laghima is becoming lighter. Garima is you become hard, strong. You can't lift them. There are instances of certain people in India, South India, where they have demonstrated, they have stood, tied ropes to the railway engine and asked them to steam ahead. But the railway could not move, the steam engine could not move. Because those persons has practiced that science, and the body is made so heavy that you can't move it without its will. Similarly, the body can be made small, very, very small. It can pass through a ring. It can be made huge. What you read in stories, they are not legends. They are true transcriptions of possibilities. Again, they may not have any spiritual significance, but they show the capacity, the potentiality and the possibility in the physical body. of transcending the what are so-called physical ineluctable laws of matter. It is possible to reduce the material content of the body by training of asanas and make it as light as the inner subtle body. It is possible even to live, for the body to live despite suspension of certain physical functions like breathing, like suspension of heartbeats. They say that if the heartbeats stop, man, the body dies. Need not. Many Western doctors have gone and taken these measurements and records with instruments of yogis lying in boxes, buried, without air, and even suspending the heartbeats. It is possible to live. So these are not only possibilities, but they have been proved to be actualities. So this, with this we come to the end of the first part of Hatha Yoga, the asanas, the postures, the science of postures and their utility in the discipline and the transformation of the physical body. I think we will break now for 15 minutes. Hi. Now, I said that the discipline of Hatha Yoga consists of two steps. The postures called the asanas and pranayama. Pranayama is the regulation and direction of life energy. Breathing is only one of the operations of life energy. The life energy, what is called prana in Sanskrit, has really as many as 10 or 15 operations, characteristic operations in the physical body. But 5 of them are main operations. And the first is breathing, taking the breath inside. That is the first. Second is the spreading of the body, breath. Spreading. Third is equalization between the incoming and the outgoing of the breath. The inhalation and the exhalation. An equalization. Equalization of the energy all over the body. Further is the exit of the life energy from the head. So, taking in the breath, the expulsion of the breath, equalization of the breath, pervasion of the breath, and exit of the breath, final exit of the breath. The final exit is supposed to take place through a channel, subtle channel in the head. Life departs through the head. But we can get hold of this life energy through this first operation of breathing. And we confuse life energy with breathing. But the breath gives us a foothold, a kind of a hold on the activity of life energy. To get hold of life energy through control of breathing, we gain a certain control over the subtler vital parts, that is, the nervous system. The nervous system behind the physical exterior which is part physical and part subtle. You get control or you get into touch with that through regulation of breathing. And by proper exercise, you purify the nervous system, ensure circulation of life energy, and arrive at complete control over its functionings. So as in the physical body, here also, first purification. Our nerves, nerve channel, nadi is not nerve. There is a constant confusion in the Western mind. Nadis are not the physical nerves. They are subtle physical conduits of nerve energies. And they are always clogged by certain physical impurities, by variation of speed of flowing of life energy, blood circulation's effect, and our emotions also. Anger, frustration, jealousy, elation, excitement, agitation, all these clog the nerve channels and create obstructions. By the right use of pranayama, you open up these channels. By themselves they open as the things course. Wherever you feel an obstruction, wherever you feel hard, wherever you feel something dull, you direct the life energy in those areas and they get opened up. This is called circulation through purification. And this clears and all the canals and openings so that the vital energy can be directed anywhere. The outward movement of respiration is seized as a key, and the prana is directed through all nerve channels. It is by this manipulation of breath. First, what you do is, as I observed on the day we had a discussion on meditation, we breathe very irregularly. The very irregularity of our breath is an indication of the ill health, inner ill health of ours. So we have to restore breathing to a certain balance, harmony. That is, you try to breathe slowly first. When you start breathing slowly, see that the time you take for breathing in is equaled by the time you take to breathe out. Breathe in through one nostril and breathe out through the same nostril. Do the same thing from here. After some time you will see that you breathe in through one and breathe out through another. That is secondary. What is important is equalization of in-breathing and out-breathing. When you have got this, you introduce a gap of arrestation of breath. Hold the breath for a while and increase that while to equal the period of breathing in and breathing out. That is, if you breathe in 1 unit of time, hold it for 1 unit of time and leave it out 1 unit of time. There are other variations into which I don't take you now. But if you do this, it gives a great control over the mental thinking, clears the mind, makes you aware of a silence and a peace and a calm that are always present behind your thinking activity gives you a certain control over your nervous system. And it is by manipulation of that breath, holding the breath for a while, for larger periods, that the body can be made light or heavy. Keeping out the breath completely, it gives a certain quality to the body. Holding the breath for a while, it gives another quality to the body. This kind of manipulation of breath, once the body has been properly conditioned by the asanas, frees the body from the normal limitations of physical laws. And this enables you to have a mastery of body and life, giving a complete control, asserting the superiority of the soul over the body and the life energies. Instead of they being the bosses, the soul, the inner being, becomes the master of the body and the life energy. This is as far as Hatha Yoga can go. Thereafter, higher aims, Hatha Yoga, enters into what is called Raja Yoga. It has come up, the physical perfection, a certain state of readiness in the life apparatus. Then is the mind. So mind is the proper sphere, the realm of Raja Yoga, the yoga of the king. Now, it is part of Hatha Yoga, I must mention, that while operating this life energy, prana, breath, you direct it towards that vital dynamism of power which is situated in the vital sheath, subtle body, that magazine of power, that coiled serpent, Kundalini, that vital dynamism is touched in the course of this breathing life energy, and it is awakened. Before the Hatha Yoga ends, the awakening of this vital dynamism takes place. Thereafter, the mind has to take over. And that forms the theme of Raja Yoga, which we will take up next Thursday as a sequence to Hatha Yoga, the yoga of the body. So the yoga of the body enters into the yoga of the mind, which also has its own discipline. Now, from all that I have said, you will understand that attractive as this yoga is, fascinating as its results promise to be, it puts a great demand on time and energy. We have to devote hours of our time to these practices. And unless one has a special taste for it, it becomes laborious, strenuous, laborious. And one shuts oneself in this perfection of body, control over life. But for what? How is the world a gainer for all that you achieve? You luxuriate, you glory in this achievement alone. It doesn't do any good to the world. You are not able to serve the world. And further, apart from encouragement of living in certain isolation, the very results of control of the body, control of life energy, can be affected by less laborious means, by less strenuous methods, psychological methods. So Hatha Yoga, the principles of Hatha Yoga must enter into any scheme of change of body and consciousness that we may envisage, but not necessarily the cumbrous methods of Hatha Yoga. Let us take the principles. Control by immobility, increase of powers by immobility, purification of nerve channels by regulation of life breath, keeping the system clean and pure, physically and mentally. These things can be done without undergoing hours and hours of this strenuous discipline. But the scheme of Hatha Yoga had to be propounded as one of the practices of spiritual life. In the next session, we will take the Raja Yoga, the yoga of the king, and its workings. I think we have some time. It's 11:30, another 10 minutes we can have for discussion or questions, answers. Yes.
Would you say a little more about the difference between the breath and the vital energy?
Vital energy is that which keeps us alive, which infuses the body with the force and strength and possibility of activity. But it comes to in us initially through breathing. But even when we don't breathe, it is there. So breathing, the activity of life energy in us is not over by breathing. It has to spread in the body. It has to carry on the digestive functions, help the limbs to digest the food, and that is done by this energy, life energy. It builds the nerves, nervous energy. It supports the mind. It is the link between the mind and the body. But breathing is only the first operation through which we gain admittance into the province of life energies. Life energy, say it is like electrical energy. When we have this button here, switch, you see the light. But even if you don't press the thing, the electric energy is there, current is there. And there are other operations of electrical energy which are not dependent upon our pressing the switch here. Yeah.
So would you comment on one of the phrases in the Guru Gita that says pranayama cannot be learned by toil, and how much you try to do it will just lead to disease. That it's much better to attain the equalization of breath and the grace of Guru, spontaneous equalization of breath.
Guru Gita, in which this occurs, means laudation of the role of the Guru. And in our religious and spiritual tradition, certain exaggerations are permitted, what are called poetic license. When you speak of the grace of Guru, the poet will go on extolling it and decrying every other means. Only this. There will be another treatise emphasizing on personal effort. Don't depend upon grace, don't depend upon this thing, you will become a lazy fellow. You have to make an effort. God helps those who help themselves and all that. And they stress that personal effort is important. And they will decry all reliance upon other help. These are various approaches a didactic in import, and it is a way of putting things, emphasizing, underlining things. We have to take all these things with more than a pinch of salt. You have to take the cream of that wisdom in everything. And it is not only in these Guru Gita, but there are even in the Upanishads, in the scriptures. There are all these things. They will say, if you do this, you will live 1,000 years. If you practice this thing, you will live 10,000 years. It does not mean literally that. It means it is something good will take place. So, pranayama is like is an exercise. It is a subtle exercise. Only you can say the further stages of pranayama shall not be done without the aid of a guru, because you are likely to overdo certain things, and there are many instances where people have gone crazy. Though pranayama always increases, enhances the intellectual capacities. Sri Aurobindo notes in his autobiographical notes how he was a born poet. He was very fond of poetry. He wrote the first poem when he was 13 in England. He would write 4 or 5 lines or 14 or 15 lines, say, in an hour. But after he practiced this pranayama, and he practiced it, mind you, 4 to 6 hours per day, he said the inspiration, the flow of inspiration quickened to 200 to 300 lines per hour. This pranayama. Then, those who do certain pranayama, for instance, even if there are mosquitoes around them, they will not bite them. I think in this country you don't have mosquitoes. You don't have. In the East, you have. I see. Now, they will hover around you, but they don't bite you. It creates a magnetic field which they can't break through. So the simpler pranayama is something which all of us can practice with great benefit. After all, how long does it take? 5 to 10 minutes. All that you have to sit straight, preferably on the ground. For those who have athletic trouble, and such things they can't sit, let them sit, but sit erect. And who put your hand here, at the back, press it so that it is erect. Hold it here. And in this, take as slowly as possible. Let it go. 6 times.
You let it go the other nostril then?
Wait. Same. 6 times. And then sit straight 12 times. And you see what happens. As slowly as possible. As you practice, you will learn not to do the sound. A successful pranayama means that sound should not come. That is, there is no clogging. Why is there sound? Because there is clogging. So that should be done. And then you will see, in the midst of work, in the midst of your activity, suspend and do this for a minute or two. You feel fresh, life energy comes, you will feel calm and detached. You will be able to meet the challenge of life much better, apart from its spiritual implications. This much is enough. Swami Vivekananda, in his lectures in America, he advises another method, and that is, he says, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out 20 times. That also is possible. So whichever you like, you do. And you see what happens. Not one will regret. After all, 10 minutes in the morning, perhaps you will do the same thing in the evening.
spread this through?
Yes, 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 yes. Imagination is used not only to spread but even to direct the breath on that kundalini nervous dynamism in the head, spine, or imagination. You start with imagination and then gradually things take shape. You have to imagine. Yes?
Sri Ramakrishna once said that he didn't recommend the use of Hatha Yoga in this age because of the danger of the discernment.
Yes, because what happens is, many of the Hatha yogins, after they perfect themselves and all that, they are lost in self-admiration. And they stay there, showing those feats, satisfied. Their aspiration for God and things doesn't continue. Their movement is arrested at the physical level. They don't feel the need afterwards. They are just satisfied. So that is why you have to use the principle, but not the entire scheme. What is taught in the West, these asanas and all that, they are only a small selection for purposes of health, for purposes of relaxation, and rightly called Hollywood yoga. You see? Yeah.
When pranayama is done with a seed mantra given by a guru or a living mantra, it's much, much more powerful.
Much more powerful, more also difficult. But the traditional way is to combine Om. Om is the seed mantra of the infinite Brahman. So when you combine Om, with the understanding of the meaning, it steadies. But in the beginning, no mantra is necessary. One can do this later on. One may, if one chooses, join a mantra either given by a guru or a mantra like Om or Soham, I am that. Soham, he, I am that. After some time what happens? When you combine this mantra of Soham, even when you are not doing that, with breathing it goes on repeating itself. You normally breathe. At that time, Soham, Soham, it goes on repeating without you are having to repeat it. That is what is called ajapa japa, that is japa without doing japa. The body goes on. I am that, I am that, I am that. And that acts as a continuous auto-suggestion in modern language. And something forms like a bridge or a link between that and this. It is true. It is great, powerful. But in the beginning to try too many things is difficult. Yes?
I'm not sure I missed the beginning of your, I think you're differentiating between the like scientific understanding of nerves and nerves. I'm sort of, could you?
Nadi, what is called nadi. Nadi is nerve channels, nerve conduits. The physical nerve that you see is not the nadi. It is a channel which is both subtle and physical. The physical aspect you see in the nerve. But the vital nerve, the subtle aspect, you don't see but you can feel.
I think that phrase from the Guru Gita I quoted, I thought that referred to the fact that with a mantra received from the Guru in meditation, the inward and outward breath will naturally equalize without any effort. Is that true?
Wait. I have not tried. Just possible.
I was talking to a lady last night who told me that after a guru's touch, it really did it for her. She could much accelerated her yogic.
Possible. Because the Guru's dynamism goes into you and it helps you and it takes over gradually. So it is always when a person who practices that asks you to do it and gives you that what is called initiation, that is that mantra, and makes you do it with him once or twice. He gives you the art. But it must be somebody who does it. So I just believe what he said, that it carries a dynamism of somebody who does it. I think now we can